Hi, and welcome to the Bloody Mary preview. I'm going to be at this one, so I've got a bit of interest in getting this right. So, just to begin with, we're going to look at the model spread. So, I did this at about lunchtime on, what day are we? Tuesday. So, yeah, we're looking at 5 days away. And the important thing here is to figure out where the low centers and the high centers are, because that kind of drives the larger kind of idea behind what we're going to see with the weather. So here we can see the ECMWF model, the Arpege model, and the GFS model. For some reason, the Met Office one didn't really want to play ball today. And we can kind of see a couple of little things here. So we've got a high pressure just over Spain, and obviously we've kind of gone off the screen here. So that high center thinks it's over kind of Vigo direction, but actually it's a little bit further south than that. We've got some lows that are Arpege thinks it's somewhere off Italy. ECMWF thinks it's kind of just off the screen. It's actually just beyond the Czech Republic. And then the GFS model thinks it is somewhere in Germany. We've then got Arpege and the EC model thinking that we're going to have a high pressure over Norway, and GFS thinks it's somewhere in the Arctic Circle, with these relative low pressures. Here, Arpege thought this was like a little bit more of a gentle gradient, whereas these kind of popped up on the other models. So the important thing to notice here is that GFS thinks it's a little bit more advanced, kind of going north, and that's kind of shown by this high pressure, which is no longer blocking, and that's really important to this whole setup. Arpege and EC think that we're going to have a blocking high, which is going to hold this low pressure back, and so the other thing that does is it pushes this low further south and influences us less. And that's going to be really important. And it's also really important to understand why we're getting this model spread. So all of these models will have a supercomputer behind them, creating a load of maths and estimating where these pressures are going to be, how big the pressure gradient is, and so how close these isobars are to each other. And because there are some differences in potentially like your input, or how much this high over Scandinavia blocks the low, and the influence of that is how we get the model spreads, which we're going to talk about in a second. So at the moment we are too far away from this low, and you can see the isobars are really spread, but we've got this high pressure, and we know that in the northern hemisphere a high pressure rotates clockwise and then a low pressure rotates anti-clockwise, so we get a sort of compression somewhere over our sailing area, which is pretty much where my cursor is now in London. And so the closer these are together, the more compression you get, the more wind you get. And that's really important to kind of understand. As we get a little bit closer, we are going to kind of really nail the accuracy, and this big spread here is actually going to get a lot smaller as we have to do less maths to figure out where everything is. And that's really important to kind of what we're trying to do. So looking at the numbers, we've got the wind speed up here. So for some reason, the Met Office decided to work for this one. But we've got a decreasing forecast in every single model here, but also we've got the pressure increasing in every single model, which means that when we go back to this high pressure here is starting to creep into this section here as these lows move away, and then these lows aren't influencing us yet, so that's really important to look at. And that's why our wind speed is decreasing, because our pressure gradient's decreasing. That's currently what I think is going to happen, so a decreasing forecast. Again, the GFS thinks that it will start off windier, but we see this general trend throughout the day. So the timing of this could really vary. The EC is basically kind of 12 hours ahead of everybody else. Arpège is somewhere in the middle. In the Met Office, again, somewhere in the middle, but still showing quite a kind of light day out, really. But again, the EC is showing some really big gusts. So actually, it's showing really light winds, but really gusty, which kind of insinuates quite an unstable atmosphere, which I'm not sure I completely believe, but I do think that it's going to be windier than the EC is saying, and I think it's probably going to be somewhere close to what the Met Office says. So starting off with 5, maybe a little bit more. The Arpège has been really good this time of year as well, but that decreasing forecast is definitely the trend that we're seeing. But 100% possible that we can go racing and have a really good day sailing. The wind direction is changing a little bit depending on what model you buy into. Again, I mean, you pay your money, you take your pick. I don't think there is overly going to be much of a trend. We're seeing a pretty messy day on Arpège. We're seeing a left-hand shift on the Met Office. We're seeing a right-hand shift on EC, and again a right-hand shift on the GFS. So yeah, this is kind of what I think it will do. So again, decreasing wind speed as the day goes on, and we see that left shift that I was talking about. But actually, I don't think we're going to see that until quite late on in the day. So yeah, that's kind of my initial thoughts. I'd definitely get an entry in. It looks like a really good year for quite a good day sailing. Temperatures are reasonably cold, but not below freezing as far as I'm aware. And it's looking like a dry day because we're in between those two systems, and that low again is too far away from us, so we're in quite a settled area. I'm expecting it to kind of be in kind of low numbers, so probably like 3 or 4 degrees to start the day, and then potentially up to kind of like high single digits towards the end of the race. But yeah, no, I definitely get involved. It will be a really good day sailing, I think. And remember that the gusts will be stronger, so actually these numbers aren't that dire. We're also raised at Queen Mary, so you will start to see some higher wind speeds there anyway. So yeah, I'm Steve at Orcamet. You can email me, you can message me on Instagram, or even on WhatsApp if you feel that way inclined. I will do another one of these the night before, so on Friday night, and then I will do a day forecast on Saturday morning, so stay tuned.